to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Mighty Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people. Original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. The Narrative Podcast promotes positive reinforcement of original people and original people culture. The Narrative Podcast provides positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome all my narrators. Got a pretty good show for you this evening. It didn't go. I wanted to come on yesterday, but just a whole lot of things come. I wanted to actually come on Monday, but it was just been so much going on. So sometimes you just got to take a pause, and I took a pause. But I'm here today on this wonderful Wednesday on the Narrative Podcast. So it's been a whole lot going on in the world. We've had a whole lot of people leave, and I'm going to address all our latest, ascensions before getting the show rolling on the Narrative Podcast. So for those that are unfamiliar with me and my platform, how I technically kick things off is I promote all my projects that I have that need promoted from you, the listeners, and then I give you a brief overview of the Narrative Podcast before diving into the content. And I do that just to provide the listeners with a just to give you a full context of, what I'm going to be speaking about on the platform, and the way I present my material and what my podcast is all about. Just give you, just a full contextual frame of reference of the Narrative Podcast. But this evening, we got a whole lot of people to acknowledge, and we're going to acknowledge them before I dive into my promotional section of the Narrative Podcast. With a heavy heart, we're going to acknowledge all the people who we have lost within the month of September. One person, breaking news, it was actually August, and it's just now being reported the month of September. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to acknowledge all these people that we lost. Celebrating their life and times and everything that they contributed to the culture, and through their art form and their passion. But unfortunately, they are no longer here. So the first person that requires acknowledgement is none other than the one and only John Amos. So he was the black father to end all black fathers, on network television, for his character on the Norman Lear produced Good Times. He was just like our first glimpse of masculinity, black masculinity on camera. Originally, you know, they had spun Esther Rolls' character off, Florida Evans, off of another Norman Lear produced show called Maud. And so when she took on that role, she told the producers, you're going to give me a husband. I'm not going to be a single black mother on, welfare and food stamps. So that was the first hurdle that they had to, climb before getting the show produced. And, they picked John. So his character was very pronounced. He was very prideful. His character anyway. But him as well as an individual for the life and times before he transitioned into the role of acting. He was actually an athlete. He played college ball, and he also played professionally in the NFL. He did a stint. He didn't really do a full season. For whatever reason, for whatever have you, it just didn't work out. Ended up getting a regular job at Mackie D's, and then shortly thereafter, he was cast for Good Times, and then the acting bug after he got shown to the world. Eventually he landed Roots, the elder version of Kunta Kinte, and then several blaxploitation films, most notably 1975 Let's Do It Again, Kansas City Mac, and then just a whole host of other roles in blaxploitation, what the mainstream people are called blaxploitation theater. He just, he was a dynamic actor, had a whole lot of range. I remember, like, one of my first films I saw him in growing up was The Beastmaster. He was in that. That was an iconic movie. He just had like iconic roles spanning decades, so that was a devastating loss. Towards the end, he had a whole lot of heart problems, and I don't want to say heart problems. I retract that statement because I don't know what the brother was ill from during life, but I know he had a whole lot of health scares. But most recently, before he passed, I do seem to remember like a few months ago, I think 3 to 6 months ago, they was trying to keep him hospitalized against his will. And then former rapper Willie D went out there to check on him. But, he just, it was his time to go. We had many decades of seeing his talent in the craft of acting, charismatic, roles after roles after roles. He just, he did everything from the big screen to the small screen to the straight to the DVD releases. Pretty much all black Hollywood has worked directly with him or can be linked to him through like a 60 degrees of separation type deal. But highly influential, charismatic, you know, another iconic role. You I couldn't not acknowledge that. Cleo McDowell coming to America. You can't, you know, that's definitely etched and embroidered in the fabric of America. So like coming to America is officially a American film gem, and he was a part of that. And then thank goodness him and James Earl Jones got to reprise their roles in that iconic movie before, you know, they transitioned. So wow, that was amazing that they was able to do that. Next person I want to acknowledge, sports entertainment. I think he passed away towards the end of last month. I think the 30th, if I'm not mistaken. Dikembe Mutombo. He was like Shaq before Shaq, 7'2", brother from the Congo, coming to America, dominating the sport. Like Jesus Christ, like all the teams, iconic teams he played for during his time with the NBA. All the advertisement spots, one of the most stellar ones. I forget the shoe. I believe it was Adidas, but you know, he had this just the catchphrase. It was iconic, and then with his voice, the way he said it, it just was giving African warrior vibes. Man does not fly in the eyes of the Congo. That was like, wow. If he was alive back then, when you saw that commercial, the shoe was ugly as hell, but it made you want a pair. And then also his playable character, like, you know, you wasn't really a 90s child of the 90s if you didn't play NBA Jams. He had a playable character on NBA Jams. And then two, they're widely known, but just not widely publicized, that we have to acknowledge. Ken Page. Apparently they want to give him, out of all the acting stuff, all his acting accolades, all his off-Broadway plays. He did off-Broadway production of The Wiz, off-play production of The Wiz, Little Shop of Horrors, and just a whole lot of other stuff. But for some odd reason, they want to, you know, what's been trending online is he voiced Oogie Boogie in Nightmare Before Christmas. So that's, you know, what he's leaving, the legacy they're trying to make him leave, and he did all this iconic stuff in Hollywood. And then last but not least, we got to acknowledge Mrs. Cat Glover. She passed away, I I believe on the 24th of September. She's a singer, choreographer, famous choreographer. She worked extensively with Prince, and then she also worked with David Bowie as well. So, she had a extensive, extensive run in Hollywood. She started off humble beginnings, got her start on Star Search, and then from there, that's where Prince found her, and then she just went on to do all kinds of stuff: production, vocal work, choreographed several award shows, a tour, Prince's old tour. So, she had a really extensive run in Hollywood as well. If I'm leaving anything out, you can do your own Googles, but yeah, she was a part of the culture for sure. And then last but not least, we want to also offer our sympathy to Raven Simone's family. So she's still alive and well, but she has suffered a loss in her family. Her biological father has passed away too, so this is a hard time for her. So I'm going to take this time to extend a warm narrative podcast deepest sympathies, condolences, sending out love, light, healing energy to the families, friends, associates, colleagues, all those who were touched and affected by the transitioning of all the people that I just named. I'm going to give them a brief moment of silence before diving into the promotional section of the Narrator podcast. All right. Love, light, healing, energy, rest well. Family, may the higher power be pleased with you. And transition with the ancestors. So now we're going to dive into the promotional section of the Narrator podcast. So the first thing I would like to promote is the Narrator podcast itself. So the way you can help the platform grow is to follow me on YouTube and Twitter, formerly X, but I'm gonna just say Twitter because it rolls off the tongue more naturally. So I'm not going to keep on saying X, formerly X. I'm gonna just say Twitter. You know what we mean when we say Twitter. It's officially called X, but everybody still says Twitter. But anyway, follow me on YouTube or Twitter. And the reason why you want to do that is because this platform that I'm recording on automatically uploads my content to both of those two mediums the moment I'm done recording. Like after I publish the episode, it goes automatically to YouTube and Twitter. And if it appears anywhere else online, 9 out of 10, I had to manually put the link there. But otherwise, follow me on YouTube or Twitter to support the Narrative Podcast hosted by me, Halsey Allen. Here are the following instructions for YouTube when you're following me on YouTube, how you support the Narrative Podcast. So obviously you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Halsey Allen, Hallzie, Allen, Allen, and then you want to click the subscribe button. So you're subscribing to my page. Then you want to click the like icon on YouTube, which, you should know by now is the thumbs up. So click the thumbs up, and then also comment on the latest episode of the Narrator Podcast. So, on YouTube, there's a comment box. Leave me a comment in the comment box. And then also share the newest episode of the Narrator Podcast to whatever platform that you like uploading and sharing content to. And that's how you support me on YouTube. So let me run it back. How you support me on YouTube. When you're following me on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the like icon, the thumbs up button. Comment on the latest episode of the Narrative Podcast. So in the comment box on my YouTube channel, leave a comment. Then also share that episode to whatever platform that you like sharing content to. And that's how you support me when you're following me on YouTube. And then also you want to click the notification button. Click notification button all, and you'll be notified each and every time a brand new episode of the Narrator Podcast debuts on YouTube. And then here are the following instructions for Twitter. So when you're following me on Twitter, follow me. I stay good at Halsey Allen. All lowercase, no spaces. I stay, I, lowercase I, stay, S-T-A-Y, good, G-O-O-D, at Halsey Allen, H-A-L-L-Z-I-E, Allen, A-L-L-E-N. And so once you arrive to my Twitter page, how you know it's my Twitter page, you should see a copy of my book, my book of poetry that I've written titled The Black Card, pinned at the top of my Twitter page. And then once you see the link to the newest episode of the Narrative Podcast, you want to click the link. And then once the link is open, and you will know when the link is open, because you should see the banner to the Narrative Podcast. And the banner is just basically a microphone that says the Narrative Podcast. That's my logo or banner or whatever you want to call it. And then once you see the banner, you want to click the like button. And the like button is in the shape of a heart. So click the heart-shaped like button to fully extend the episode of the Narrative Podcast. And then after you click that heart, it should fully extend. Expand is the word I meant to say. It should fully expand. And then once it's fully expanded, you want to click the heart-shaped like button again, because it'll appear at the bottom of the fully expanded banner. And then next to that, after the banner is fully expanded, you should see an icon next to the like button, the heart-shaped like button. It's a clock. You want to ignore that. And then next to that is a comment box. You want to leave a comment in the comment box. And then here's the most important step. Next to the comment box is the download button. And the download button, that icon is in the shape of a cloud. It's in the shape of a cloud and has an arrow pointing down. You want to click that to fully download the episode of the Narrator Podcast. That is the most important way to help the platform, is to click the download button when you're following me on Twitter. And then after that, you want to share it to, whatever platform that you like sharing content to. So I'm going to run it back one more time. When you're following me on Twitter, how you support the Narrative Podcast. You click on the link. Go to my page on Twitter, Halsey Allen. I stay good at Halsey Allen. Then you want to click the link, the latest link to the Narrative Podcast. You want to click that. Then once it expands, the banner expands, you want to click the like button again, which is in the shape of a heart. So click the heart shape button twice. Click the link once. Expand the Narrative Podcast banner. And once the banner is expanded, click the heart-shaped like button on it, and then expand one more time. And then on the second time it expands, click the heart-shaped like button at the bottom of the banner. And then next to that, comments in the comment box. Next to the comment box is the download button. Click the download button, which is a shape of a cloud with the arrow pointing down. Click on that, and then you share it to whatever platform that you like sharing content to. And that's how you support me when you're following me on X or Twitter. Yeah. I don't like saying X. When you're following me on Twitter, it sounds weird, but whatever. But that's how you support, the Narrative Podcast. And the next project that I would like to promote is my book of poetry that I've written. It's titled The Black Card. It's available on poetizer.com. That's the only medium that is available to purchase, is poetizer.com. And, the name of my book of poetry is called The Black Card. The Black Card is a 30-page book of poetry chronicling our experience as black people as a whole, and our culture in its entirety is chronicled in 30 creative poems. Basically, it's a retrospective look of our people, through these poems. Everything we experience as a people, both positive and negative, everything we go through, everything we experience in life as people, as black people, is chronicled in the Black Card. You'll automatically feel a connection to it if you're a melanated original man or woman. You just feel something calling out to you to read this poetry, and it just connect to you, through a deep ancestral type bond. So you will enjoy it on that level. People outside of our culture, you don't have to feel left out. You can also purchase and enjoy the Black Card too. If you consider yourself open-minded or progressive and like learning about different cultures, this is also a really good book for you. It will help you relate better to our experiences. It'll broaden your horizons and make you more informed and aware about what we go through as a people. Mind you, you will never, ever truly know what it's like to be one of us, just as we'll never know what it's like to be you either. But it'll give you some insight to what we go through, and a lot of the way we are, is chronicled in that book, and that'll help you kind of just get a better grasp, a better understanding of our people, but never truly to just understand our entire plight, pardon me. But it'll definitely make you more aware and cognitive about, what it's like to be, black. You can also use that as a learning tool if you have children, and just enjoy some really good poetry. So again, to purchase the Black Card, it's only available on Poetizer.com. Poetizer.com has a virtual online bookstore. So what you want to do is log on to Poetizer.com. They got apps. If you got a Droid, Play Store. If you got an iPhone, Apple. So yeah. But or you can just log on to it if you got a desktop or tablet. Poetizer.com. Or you can log on to it with your device if you don't want to download that. But anyway, however you get there, they have a virtual online bookstore. Go to their virtual online bookstore and then look for my title, The Black Card, written by me, Halzie Allen. So once you arrive to the site, look for my book title, The Black Card. Go to the virtual online bookstore, go get it, purchase it today, and you will enjoy it. Purchase your copy of The Black Card today, or get your Black Card revoked. And again, the Black Card is available on Poetizer.com. The next project that I would like to promote is my personal book of poetry. Pardon me, I already said that. Been a long day, guys. My personal poetry blog on blogger.com titled Hallziespoetrycorner. So I would like your to please support that. The link to Hallzies Poetry Corner is www.mrhalziesblogs.com, and it's on blogger.com. And what Hallzies poetry, what the poems on that blog site are, it's just a diverse collection of poetry that I've spontaneously written in the moment from, a wide array of varying topics, virtually about anything one would experience in life. Like anything you go through in life, there's a poem on Hallzies Poetry Corner to commemorate that event. Also, there's a whole lot of poems that commemorate certain emotions you feel. So, it's a very versatile collection of poetry. Now, I do have some poems on that blog site that specifically are targeted towards our community, original people community, but on the whole, pretty much anybody from any background, ethnicity, whatever, can read a poem from Hallzies Poetry Corner and, identify with the piece. So, all the poems on Hallzies Poetry Corner are completely relatable. They're very creative. They're just really diverse and eclectic. So, they got poems ranging from, waking up in the morning to not waking up in the morning. So like that, it's like that. So I got religion, I got spirituality, I got poems reflecting, good times, poems reflecting bad times, happy poems, sad poems, angry poems, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're currently experiencing in life right now, or have experienced in life sometime within your lifetime, you're going to find a poem on Hallzies Poetry Corner that will commemorate that, event or that mood that you're currently in or that you've been in at one point in time. So go check them out on blogger.com at www.mrhallziesblogs.com, and I even have a tagline for that specific blog spot, or that specific poetry blog. It's called Hallzies Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And when you read one of the poems featured, any of the poems featured on that poetry blog, you'll see that, it lives up to the title. Like, that, diverse. I literally have a poem. I said poetry. I literally have a poem for every occasion in life you can think about. So yeah, go check them out again on Hallzies Poetry Corner at www.mrhallziesblogs.com. And the way you support my poetry blog, you either share the link to Hallzies Poetry Corner or a poem featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms. So like whatever platform that you like to share things to, share the link to Hallzies Poetry Corner, or a title to one of my poems on whatever thing you like to upload and share. And then also when you arrive to the blog site, I have a comment box. Each piece has a comment box underneath it, so you want to comment on the piece of poetry, leave me a comment, and then also, of course, share, well, I already said share, like the poems. And the like button on Hallzies Poetry Corner is just in the shape of a heart, so you want to click on the heart-shaped like button to like, all the poems featured on that blog site. And that's how you support Hallzies Poetry Corner. And then also I want to just give a quick disclaimer. So, when you click on the link, if you're on your device, it's going to say this is not a secure connection. It's going to have like a big triangle, and it's going to just look like, somebody might hack you or something like that. But it's totally safe. It's a Google product. I don't know why they got it like that, why it's like that, but it's a safe site. Go check it out. Go to the link. Read some really good poetry. Share the poems online, and I greatly appreciate that. And then last thing I want to ask to visual content creators, if you are a visual content creator, meaning like if you're in front of the camera when you're uploading your content, whether you're a podcaster or a vlogger or a YouTuber, just to please Instagram liver, you do Instagram lives, or like doing TikToks or Reels, just shout out the Narrative podcast, or Hallzies Poetry Corner. Either one of those two or both. Both would be great, but either or on whatever visual platform that you occupy, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever you're, visually creating content for, to please shout out Hallzies Poetry Corner or the Narrator Podcast, on your visual content platform. And that's all. So thank you for all the support that you've given me so far, but if you continue to support, those platforms will continue to grow. And thank you very much. That's all the projects that I have to promote this evening. And then when I come across, more new projects, I will let you know. But, for right now, it's just those. And now I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Narrator Podcast before diving into the content this evening. So let's start at the top. Tippy the name. I named my podcast The Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. I don't like the way that they inaccurately and falsely use our images and our likenesses to project a negative frame of reference about our people and our culture. So what I wanted to do to counter the way the media negatively portrays us across all media platforms is design a platform where I'm providing the listening audience and one day viewing audience positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. So with the intent to alter or change the narrative about the way we're perceived, the way our images and our likenesses are perceived across all media platforms. Hence the title, The Narrative Podcast. The mission statement of the Narrative Podcast is just simply to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Also to inform the listening audience as to why it's important to responsibly utilize your platforms to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and also to encourage the listening audience to responsibly utilize their platforms to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So I think that's a perfect segue to my tagline of the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. Hence the title, The Narrative Podcast. So that's entirely what the Narrative Podcast is all about. I'm all about sharing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So, and the next thing you need to be aware of when listening to the Narrative Podcast is I refer to my target listening audience as my narrators. And that's a term I coined just basically to be reflective of our job as original people, which is as narrators. So a narrator, if you look in the dictionary, a narrator is just basically a person that's telling the story to provide, depending on what it is, if it's a play, the people watching the play, to give them full context about the scene they're about to watch. Or, if they're listening, like the old days of radio, they had narrators. They was just setting up the scene so the people listening could follow along. So a narrator is just basically somebody that tells a story. And so what I mean when I refer to my listening audience as my narrators is storytellers, but telling positive stories as it relates to our people and our culture, utilizing your platforms to tell a positive story about our people and our culture. That's what I mean when I refer to my target listening audience as my narrators. And the reason why we need to tell our own stories is because if history hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us this. If you don't tell your own story will be told for you. And currently our own story is being told for us by the media. And our story is a story of negativity. Our story is a story of violence. Our story is a story of degeneracy, of ignorance, of laziness, of being unintelligent, being vile, being lewd, being violent, being overly aggressive. That's the story that they're telling about our people and our culture. Those are the images that they're spinning about our people. They're spinning the image of the angry black man. They're spinning the image of the angry black woman. They're spinning the image of the gangbanger, the pimp, the whore. These are the images and likenesses associated with our people that they're trying to, broadcast across the world. So as narrators, our job is to just basically post positive content on our platforms about our people and our culture. Like, we can't control what people outside of our culture, how they view us, what they think about us, how they, interpret us, how they interact with us, how they react to us. They're only going off by the frames of reference that the media gives them. And the frames of reference that the media gives them is negative ones. We have negative images and likenesses of our people across all forms of media, in movies, on television, in music, in literature, in advertisements. All those frames of reference are negative. So to set things right, we need to be posting positive content about our people and our culture that's reflective of who we truly are as a people, the true essence and the true nature of who we are as a people, and the true essence and the true nature of who we are as a people are kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. And that's how we need to properly utilize our platforms to convey that sentiment. We don't need to be embracing these negative stigmas and stereotypes that the media places over us. So we don't need to embrace the image of the gangbanger. We don't need to embrace the image of the bank robber or the drug dealer or the whatever. We need to be embracing the family man. We need to be embracing the educated brother or sister that got their degree, that got their stuff together. Those are the images we need to be sharing. We need to be sharing the images of people in our community participating in activism, of advocating for something, of doing some type of philanthropy, some type of humanitarian work. That's what we need to be sharing across all our platforms, not the foolishness. We don't need to be sharing images of us just acting a damn fool, of being buffoons, of being, the butt of every joke. So that's what I mean when I call my target listening audience my narrators. An example that I always give on how to become an effective narrator is just look at digital media. Like, every digital media page has a profile section. Then your profile section, you fill it out, what you want the world to know about you as an individual, or your, brand, if you're like on social media to sell something, about your product, whatever it is that you're trying to sell online. But whatever you put in your bio section, you typically back it up or reinforce it with positive visual imagery that's reflective of what you've entered in your bio section. So say you're like a foodie, like you're a foodie, you're a food blogger, or you just you're a culinarian, or just like all things food. So you might have entered that in your bio section. So your visual content to help you solidify what you've written in the profile section, that you're like a foodie, is going to be visual content reflecting that you're a foodie. So it'd be like restaurants, your favorite restaurants. It'd be just like random pictures of food, whatever. But it's like it'd be the best possible version, the best visual version of what you entered into your bio section. So, said all that to say, as narrators, we need to put out the best possible visual images to capture our essence as a people across all platforms. So if our true natures are kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe, our visual images that we share with online need to reflect that. They need to reflect, our dominant presence in our communities, of us uniting together. The unity needs to be strong. We need to see visual images of unity. We need to see visual images of harmony, us getting along with each other. Not just leading in our communities, but us actually being able to peacefully cohabitate with one another. So like functions and gatherings where people are not getting beat up or unalived, like just having a good old time. And a good time meaning a good wholesome time, not exposing your naked genitals when you're dancing, not being inebriated to the point where you can't even stand up straight. Us spending time with our children, us building things that we need for our community, we need to see visual images that reflect that. We need to see visual images of us owning things, of us being, homeowners, property owners, having ownership in something. Because everybody thinks, all black people are broke and, we don't have anything, we're not about anything. So we need visual images to reflect that we are. So that's what I mean when I call my target listening audience my narrators, and that's the job of a narrator, is to put out positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Visually appealing positive images. Because as the old saying goes, pictures are worth 1,000 words. So now, next thing on the Narrative Podcast you need to be aware of, this is a positive space for original people, meaning I don't engage or entertain any foolishness, silliness, gossip, roasting back and forth, he say, she say, none of that. I don't entertain or engage any of that on this platform. This platform is just designed to uplift and edify our people and our culture with positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So, it's a positive, safe space for original people. The primary function of the Narrative Podcast is the upliftment and edification of original people. I'm trying to bring our people together with this content, not separate us with this content. So I don't talk bad about other people on here, and I try to discourage other people from using their platforms to talk bad about a brother or sister on their platform. Now, having said that, I am a podcaster, and I do speak about current events, what's going on in the world, like whether it's nationally, globally, or whatever. Got to talk about it on this platform, being a podcaster. And when I'm speaking on events that concern our people, original people, if I bring up a person's name within our community that happens to be famous or a celebrity, no, it's just never to bash them or try to make fun of them or make light of whatever is going on with them, whatever is going on with their particular situation. This is just basically the perspective I break it down is from the perspective of, the bigger picture. Because unfortunately, anytime a celebrity from our community is in the media, when they're trending, when they're going viral, it's for something negative. It's for, domestic drugs or whatever. It's something negative usually. So when one of our people is in the media for something negative, I just try to unpack it from the bigger picture perspective. And the bigger picture perspective is usually when anything in our communities when something in our community that is happening that is negative, it's usually stemming from these two things: systemic oppression, psychological programming, and conditioning. So when I'm bringing up the person's name, I'm talking about their situation that they're going viral for, which is usually something negative. and then I'm pinpointing these factors surrounding this situation. And the factors that I'm pinpointing are, systemic oppression and psychological programming and conditioning. Now, on the systemic oppression side of it, it's not having certain opportunities afforded to us, making up certain laws and to keep us out of certain spaces, to keep certain resources away from us. Like even when we claim our economic independence, meaning like we're now business owners. We're not W-2 wage earners anymore. We got our own businesses. They still make up laws and rules and regulations to make it more difficult for us than another group that owns their own business. Like more taxes, more hoops that we got to jump through, and regulations, and this tax, that tax, and just a whole bunch of things designed to discourage us from even wanting to own our own business that we have to endure that other people don't have to. That's on the systemic oppression side of it. Then on the psychological programming and conditioning side of it, which I told you, the media, the way they use our images and our likenesses, they flood us with these negative images and our likenesses, and like these little social experiments they perform on us with, frequencies and sounds and the imagery we're seeing in movies and televisions. It's just real suggestive, about what the way we should carry ourselves and conduct ourselves. It plays a big role in how we relate to one another, how we view ourselves. It's basically a form of psychological warfare, the way they use our images and our likenesses, and how they contort and twist the narrative to suit, their agenda, to how they want to portray our people's images and our likenesses. And they want to portray us as less than, as unintelligent, as, unapproachable, uncivilized, all the uns that they want to make us. They want to just portray us as the bottom of the barrel. Like, you're at your absolute worst when you're black. That's how they want to portray us to the world. That's how they want to portray us to ourselves. So those two big factors are usually at play when, something negative or somebody from our community that's famous, is in the news for something negative. Those two, major factors are usually at play. Next thing you need to be aware about the Narrator podcast is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast. And the reason for me doing that is basically to, keep the listening audience interested in what I have to say. And I can't do that if I'm droning on and boring you to sleep. So I want to try to keep all the content that I discuss on here short, quick, and to the point. I definitely just don't want to be ranting and raving. I want to make my content really practical, make my content very digestible, You don't have to clear your entire schedule to listen to episodes of the Narrative Podcast. You can just grasp the content very easily. So, like, my purpose is just to inform you, about what our people are going through, break down the plight of our people in the form of information, sharing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and try to break this vicious cycle. That's what I'm trying to do here, and I don't need to do a 4 or 5 hour lecture to do it. So basically, I just want to make it short, brief, and to the point. I don't want to shoot over anybody's heads. I also don't want to dumb myself down. I want my message to be practical and applicable. I don't want to beat you up over the head with the message. I just want to deliver the message and to make the message clear. So that's why I try to try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast, because we have so many things to distract our focus, and I know I only got a limited amount of time to keep you attentive and captivative to what it is that I'm saying. And then last but not least, on this platform, I refer to our people as original people versus black. Now, I refer to our people as original people versus black on this platform for, reason number one, it's historically accurate. And then reason number two, to unify us as a people. So what do I mean by it's historically accurate to refer to our people as original people? Well, it's historically accurate to refer to our people as original people because we were and are the original people of this plane. We were originally here before every other civilization you can think of, every other civilization you could possibly name. Our existence superseded them. Not only was we here first, we pretty much invented everything. We pretty much originated everything. We created everything. Like any invention you can think of, we had a direct hand in building it, or it was inspired by us. But yeah. So that's what I mean by original people from the historical perspective. And then on the unity side of it, there are so many different types of us, hailing from so many different landmasses, speaking different languages, believing different things, having different philosophies, cultural ideologies, and we're just all different in a whole lot of areas. But as many areas that we differ from, we're also similar in a whole lot of areas. We can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. We all possess high concentrations of carbon, aka melanin. And, we were all originally here before everybody else. And it's the funny thing about our people. People outside of our culture, they never refer to us as our nationality or, by whatever language that we just happen to speak. They look at our skin complexion and they just be like, you're black. An Asian person, they'd be like, you're black. Somebody from the Netherlands, they look at your skin complexion, that'd be like, you're black. Somebody from like Ireland or the UK or You know, anywhere somebody that doesn't resemble our people, have our features or our flesh tone, they'll just call us black. But we, our people, will call ourselves whatever. We'll call ourselves by our nationalities. We'll say I'm Nigerian, I'm Haitian, I'm from Ghana, I'm from, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a Afro this, I'm an Afro that, everything but just what you are, black or original. And the word original is empowering, it's impactful. Nothing trumps original. Anything in creation, there had to be the first. And from that first thing that was spawned, the original copy, either improvements to it or just regular things about that, whatever it is, came from the original. So there's just like, we are the original everything. There's not one word that rivals the word original like that. Just the impactful presence of it. Just how empowering it is to be the first. So that's why I refer to our people as original people. And then one other thing that I always cover before diving into the content is just pointing out the false narrative of slavery. They use slavery to divide us as a people. They use slavery to make us feel inferior as a people, like our lineage began with slavery. Because as I said, we are the original beings of this planet. So if we was here before everybody, then our existence did not start with slavery. But yet they want to credit slavery as being our most definitive era. They want to overlook all the places that we ruled over. They want to overlook us teaching every civilization on the planet how to survive. They want to overlook, us teaching people about spirituality. They want to overlook all of that. Everywhere we ever existed, all we ever brought to the table was enlightenment, was knowledge of self. We taught people about themselves. We never stole nothing from nobody. We never tried to force our beliefs and value systems on anybody. We never try to force people to see the way we see it. We never try to take anything by force from other people other than ourselves. When we was warring amongst ourselves, and all tribes of man war. But for some odd reason, when we was going to war with one another, it got chronicled as just the most nonsensical disagreements in the world. But all that is, borders around slavery. They basically use slavery to stoke fears. They want to project the image of the docile slave. They want to just project this weak image of our people, like, oh yes, master, I'll do it. Just please don't whip me. They want to promote that image. They don't want to promote the king and the queen and the gods and the goddesses. And then you see how divisively they do it in movies. They spend like trillions of dollars producing slave movies, movies that chronicle the slave era, where we were shackled and whipped and beaten. But then when they make movies about Egypt, they have actors and actresses that don't even look like our people. They have white people playing Egyptian gods. But moreover, one of the most dangerous things that they do about slavery is they try to say, you know, we basically populated the entire world through the transatlantic slave trade, meaning they try to spin it from the perspective that all original people, black people, got to wherever we currently residing in the world on a slave boat. That they came and got us from Africa, that make that big generalization that all of us came from Africa to wherever we're currently at right now. And the problem with that is, like I said, we're original people. So if we was here before everybody else, doesn't it stand to reason that we inhabited everywhere before everybody else did? Meaning there was already large concentrations of us in North America, in Central America, on the continent of Asia, in the Mediterranean, UK, Russia, Germany, Australia, Canada, even the North and the South Pole. There was already large concentrations of our people. And then on the scientific note, the world changed 7 whole times before the slave trade even existed. The geographical landscape of this world changed 7 whole times before slavery existed. So that's how it's possible that we was like on different land masses long before the transatlantic slave trade, long before chattel slavery existed. We existed. We didn't get to everywhere, all these other places on slave boats. We were just already inhabiting these places. So don't get me wrong, slavery did happen. Some of us did come from Africa and got dropped off, you know, in Central America, in like places like Cuba and DRPR and Spain and all that. Some, not all. The majority of us was already there, especially here in North America, United States of America. Like the vast majority of us, we was already here. We was the original indigenous natives to this land. Them other people sitting on these councils, on these tribal councils, who own these casinos and all that, they not the original indigenous natives. They Siberians, Mongols, and then the rest of them, they descend from white folk. They descend from $5 Indians. At one point in time in this country, white people could pay $5 to change their lineage to Indian, just to avoid paying taxes. So a lot of them had their birth records changed and said they're Indian. And it's documented. Like, you can go to the Library of Congress and look it up. In several other college databases and look it up. But yeah, I just wanted to point out the false narrative of slavery, that the powers that shouldn't we use about our people to cause division amongst our people. We got a little war, American blacks against, unfortunately, our African brothers. It's like, well, you guys ain't really African, no way. You guys weak. You got captured in the slave trade, and oh well, y'all's cowards. Y'all knew they captured us, and y'all didn't try to come back for us. And then it's y'all think y'all better than us. Or no, y'all think y'all better than us, and that's that divisive divide that we have from that false narrative of slavery. So now that you know what the Narrator podcast is all about, or everything you should know about the Narrator podcast, I'm going to dive on into the content this evening on this weekday edition of the Narrator podcast. First of all, I have two different format styles of the Narrator podcast: the weekend format style and the weekend format style. Now, I divide my content into sections. During the weekday, it's divided into two sections. And the primary focus, of course, is to provide positive frames of reference. And the main focal point, or the main frame of reference that I provide about our people and our culture during the weekday is positivity, or positive news. That's my main focus point. And then after that, I deliver commentary on, whatever is going on in the world, because I'm a podcaster and I got to cover current events. So I do that during the weekday. On the weekend, I got 5 sections. I'm not going to tell you all 5 sections during this weekday episode, but I will tell you this much: the focal point during my main frame of reference that I'm delivering on the weekend is ownership. Original people, business ownership. That's what I focus on during the weekend. And I focus on that during the weekend because, we don't have a lot of frames of reference about what it means to be a business owner. So on the weekends, I kind of just, focus on that. During the weekday, why I focus on positive news is because during the weekday, all weekday long, we're bombarded by negative news all week. in all forms of media, music, television, movies, negative, 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 negative. And again, this is war. This is psychological warfare. They're trying to reprogram our subconscious into being desensitized towards violence, to being desensitized towards degeneracy. And it's kind of working. Within our community, we're normalizing violence. We're normalizing things we shouldn't accept or deem normal. You know, there are things in our community we say, oh, you know, that's what we're supposed to embrace. We're normalizing poverty. We're normalizing violence. We're normalizing degeneracy. It's like we're seeing stuff and we're unfazed by the things we're seeing. We see a brother, a sister unalive themselves in broad daylight, wage war, literally for nothing. He up a stick, she up a stick, they get to busting at each other in broad daylight. And we normalize that within our culture. It's because we've been programmed and conditioned to normalize it. We're normalizing growing up in households where, you know, we're either at the poverty line, under the poverty line, and just got barely enough to make it every month. Like we just, you know what I'm saying? We're normalizing things that shouldn't be normalized within our culture. Because that's all they're showing us. They're not showing us stories about us excelling academically. They're not showing us stories about us owning things, being business owners. They're not showing us engaging in humanitarian type acts, advocating for positive things in our community. We don't see that all week long, on a daily basis. So that's why I focus on positive news articles during the weekday. So now that you know what the positive news articles represent on the podcast, I'm going to dive into my first positive news article this evening on this weekday edition of the Narrator podcast. Oh, wow. I don't know how much of that. So she's been turning some properties located in New Jersey's South Side into affordable housing. The affordable housing project will feature 5-story buildings with 40 units specifically priced for low-income families, and amenities will include free Wi-Fi, desktop PCs. Children will have access to free online tutoring. All this will be made possible by our partnership with the YMCA of Newark, New Jersey. So she's been doing this, being a real estate agent for over 15 years. So she got her feet wet in 2001 with, you know, flipping rental properties. And then she got her first big break in real estate development when she turned an old hospital into affordable housing units in New Jersey. It's a general hospital, Old Irvington. So, she's been doing it quite a long time, and the motivation behind her doing it, she wants to provide solutions. She don't want to just identify the problem. She wants to come up with actionable solutions to, the plight of our people, things that actually help us, such as education, such as, the anonymity. She's going to be providing these low-income housing projects that she's building. They're going to have, resources for adults to get jobs, job seeker resources, also resources to start your own business, resources to help you become a homeowner. So that's her plans for the future, and with the affordable housing that she's providing to the people of New Jersey. So without any further ado, join me into giving our sister Adana Bayo a warm narrative podcast round of applause for our upcoming housing project in New Jersey. It doesn't say the name of the project, it just says the housing project. Next positive news article on this weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast. The headline reads, Black mom and her children are all successful published authors. And the mother's name is Janae Fennell. And her three children's names are Jace, Merle, and Jaya. It all started with her son, Jace. They had a family trip to Hawaii. After coming home, he told his mother he wanted to write a book for children to read that will focus on the love of reading and traveling. So she encouraged him to do so, and he did. Shortly after, he wrote a book titled Journey Through Hawaii with Jace. And then shortly after that, he wrote another book called Journey Through Cuba with Jace. So I guess they went to Cuba next after they went to Hawaii. That's cool. Traveling somewhere with the children. That's a very good way to teach them about different cultures, go to different places and see different cultures. But anyway, so after the success of young Jace's books, this inspired his younger sibling Merle to want to write books. He asked, Jace how to write a book and what he needs to know about it. And so Jace obliged, and then he started writing his own bookstore series. His first book was called Journey Through Texas with Merrill. And then his second book was Journey Through New Orleans with Merrill. And so, of course, it wasn't much later on, their daughter, which is the eldest, Merle and Jace are just a couple years apart. I think Jace was like 10 and Merle was 8. Jaya is 15, which prompted Jaya to write her own book about painting. She was already kind of, painting. She already had an affinity for painting, so she wrote a book about painting, with a book called Princess Jaya's Face Painting Fairy Tale. And then seeing all of her children write books, it wasn't too long before the mother got involved and got inspired by her offspring writing these terrific books, pieces of literature. She wrote a book called Hope and Happiness. And so the whole Farrell clan is writing books. And so that is just something super special because, writing books is just like it's an art form. It's really like one of the first forms of communication through man. Because like every ancient civilization had a library. We all had books before, actual books. They had scrolls. It was just a way to keep a record of things, pass knowledge about things. Books really, when you think about it, they contain like life force energy. When you touch that book, when you touch that cover, and then you thumb through those pages, you're not just reading it, you're shifting like energy when you're thumbing through those pages. So like books really transform your mode of thinking, how you view the world, how you perceive certain situations. You're just more insightful. The more you read, the more insightful you become. But so said all that to say, like, writing is just as important as reading. Writing, when you write things, that's a transference of energy. Any manifestation guru will tell you, you have to write it down to manifest it into reality. Like all the manifestation gurus tell you to keep a journal or something that you can record events on, calendars and journals. You gotta write. In religion, the Bible, the book of Habakkuk says, write the vision to make it plain. But anyway, so the whole Fennel family are now full-fledged authors, and I imagine they're going to keep on writing books. So for a list of all the books that they have written, you can read their complete works by visiting www.fenneladventure.com, or follow the Fennel clan at Fennel Adventure on Facebook and Instagram at Fennel Adventure. So let's give a warm Narrative Podcast round of applause for the whole Fennel clan. Janae and all her children, Jace, Merle, and Jaya. Alrighty. And now my very last positive news article this week on the Narrator Podcast. The headline reads, 37-year-old founder of black-owned trucking company grows $4 million in revenue in 3 years. And the name of his company is called Fleeting. And the proprietor of this business is a brother by the name of Pierre. Okay, that's where I got Haitian from. He's Haitian. So forgive me if I pronounce this brother's name incorrectly. Laguerre, Lagrree. He's of Haitian descent. His family moved to the U.S. when he was only 15 years old. Doesn't say what year. He originally wanted to become a neurologist, but obviously he decided against that. He drove trucks for 12 years before starting his own business. The main goal of Fleeting is to help black people obtain their CDLs and then ultimately help them achieve financial independence and, start their own truck driving company. But, he would be like it if he would want to stay with his company, but he's trying to encourage people to start their own truck driving companies and giving them the tools that they need to do it. So providing them with the rig and showing them how, the truck driving business goes and all that. Very good lucrative work. Like, they got a whole lot of drawbacks, but it got just as many perks as it does drawbacks. You're constantly on the road. Now, for our people, we already know there's a whole lot of towns. I see the blogs all the time. These backwater hick towns that the truck drivers couldn't and shouldn't leave their truck for. This is why most truck drivers, they, make all the comforts of home in their rig. They bring stuff, their own hot pots and stuff, so they can cook their own food and try to buy a cooling unit, their own little college fridge, so they don't got to get out their truck for nothing. Because our people, we get dogged in these little hick towns when we have to go to these little greasy spoon diners. I done seen so many stories from black truckers that they got food poisoning, going to them little hick towns, having to get something to eat, or stopped or harassed by the police in these little hick towns. But anyway, on the whole, it is a pretty good profession. Pays a whole lot of good money. It's not for the faint of heart. Like, you gotta be on the road a lot. You're gonna spend 6 to 8 months on the road out the year driving. Over 100 hours. But if you can take it, go check it out. And if you want to know more about his company, go to fleet.us. So let's give a warm Narrative Podcast round of applause for our brother Pierre and his business, Fleeting. All right. So Now I'm on my next section. This section is basically like my current breaking news section. Just basically where I'm discussing current topics, whether it's on the internet, whether it's global news, national news, or just something within our community. Just basically like current topics. And the reason why I do that is basically to control the narrative, because the media have us looking and sounding crazy. So those are the things I usually talk about, like whatever is going on around the world. I just, unpack it from our perspective, original people perspective, and what that means for our people. How should we perceive that, or how might we interpret whatever is going on, what that means to us as a people. Sometimes I don't have anything to talk about because I don't feel like nothing in the news is worth talking about. And on those particular days, what I might do is do a PSA, and the PSA is just an observation about things our people do, little tricks we fall for and things we need to stop doing. And by we, I mean me. And in many cases, it's me especially. I'm having an out loud little memo to note to self, but, I felt like sharing that day. But I do have a couple things to talk about. One, I'm going to start things off. This is really just a call to action. It seems like St. Louis, we just recently had a brother by the name of Marcellus Williams. He just got unalived. Innocent man, St. Louis, Missouri. He's on death row. He got put to death. They didn't have any physical or circumstantial evidence linking him to the crime. Prosecutor even said, the case wasn't strong. The original prosecuting attorney, they said, they might have dropped the ball on that one. The family of the slain victim came forward, said they don't believe he did it. Just like everything that says don't kill this man, they just threw out the window. But so apparently there's another brother currently sitting on death row in that same state. And this brother's name is Billy Allen. He's currently a death row inmate in St. Louis, Missouri. And what he has been arrested for was the unaliving of a security guard in a robbery attempt. Security guard by the name of Richard Heflin. So he was charged with the murder of Richard Heflin at Lindell Bank and Trust in St. Louis, Missouri. This was in, what year was this? I believe it was 97. Yeah, it was in 1997, so he's been in there incarcerated since 97. He doesn't have an execution date set. They don't have a day set to execute him, but he is on death row. So I don't know how the days they choose to unalive people on death row, but he's currently, up for capital punishment in St. Louis, Missouri. So this, like I said, this is a call to action to, do whatever you can for this brother, Billy Allen. They got a website called change.org, and so you can go to that and type in Billy Allen, and it'll give you options to help him. It's like a little GoFundMe link on that you can donate something to, and then also, provide a signature for the state on change.org. And then they got another website called freebillyallen.com. You can go on that and you will see what he's been charged for and all the evidence that they don't have. And so that, just like Brother Marcellus, they don't have any physical or circumstantial evidence linking him to the crime. As a matter of fact, this is a very travesty of justice, because he stands over 6 feet tall. I think he's like 6'3", but all the witness statements saying the guy that they saw in the bank was a guy that was 5'7" or 8". You can't mistake a guy that's 6'3" for somebody 5'7" or 5'8". You can't. There's no way to mistake that. So he has no DNA evidence, no blood was in his clothing, no gunpowder residue on his clothing. So if you unalive somebody, you're going to get spattered. If you ain't ever shot nobody, or if you don't know how shooting people works, when you shoot somebody, that's two things you're going to have on you. You're going to get the blood spatter of the person you shoot. If you're that close, it's a bank robbery. So he shot the dude point blank range, the person that actually did it. So when you shoot somebody point blank range, you're going to get blood spatter on you. You're going to get gunpowder residue on you. He had none. There was no DNA evidence in his clothing he was wearing, so no blood stains in his clothing, no gunpowder residue on his clothing, no video footage of him in the bank at the time that the bank was robbed. He was in the bank earlier that day, but he goes to the bank. He had a 9-to-5 job. How dumb would that be to rob a bank that you go to every day, where they can see you? They know the contours of your body if you wore a mask. Like, everybody knew him by first name at the bank that worked there. So that don't even make sense for him to rob that bank. But like I said, call to action for this brother. His name is Billy Allen. Go to billyallen.org. You can read more about the case, or go to the other one, change.org, and type in Billy Allen. And it's Billy, B-I-L-L-I-E, Allen. No relation. And then the next thing I want to talk about is an insensitive comment made by Rob Schneider about the untimely passing of Mutombo. So during his life, Mutombo, I guess he got paid to promote the jab. So he promoted the jab. Now they're saying he died of a brain tumor. Well, Rob Schneider takes to his Instagram and uses that opportunity to speak out against the jab. Now, while I am anti-jab myself, this was completely insensitive and really off-putting because, for one, the brother died of a brain tumor. Now, there's all kinds of things that jab can cause. I'm in agreement. I'm in total agreement, but he don't know. For one, he don't know that he actually took the jab, because a lot of people that endorsed it just only received money for it. The same way he's a celebrity himself. He knows he's endorsed a whole lot of things as a celebrity, been in ads, endorsing things that he don't use and don't like, but they gave him a check and he endorsed it. So, like the same thing with Mutombo. I highly doubt that he actually went and got the jab. I highly doubt it. He probably just endorsed it because they gave him some money. He's an NBA player. Like, I'm endorsed some shoes. Like Michael Jordan endorsed Air Jordan brand. Like, look down on his feet, that brother be wearing Italian loafers. He don't even wear Jordans. Like, there's a lot of celebrities that endorse things that they don't actually use or they don't actually even like. They just endorse it because the people that paid them to endorse it paid them to endorse it. So, having said all that to say, he shouldn't have used his platform to try to, put this narrative that the jab is what underlies Mutombo. So his direct quote was on X. He used a clip of Mutombo's last interview before dying, and he put a caption under it. It said, "Rest in peace. I'm sure this is just," quotes, "another coincidence," end quote. "But I took a pass on the jab, and I'm going to let anyone know," quotes, "and who will listen," end quote, "get it either." Or I'm not gonna let anyone I know get it either. So that was super insensitive to use this man's image and likeness to push that narrative of anti-vax. Like, you can push whatever narrative you want to on your own platform, but it was highly distasteful, very, very insensitive, because like I said, it was pronounced dead. Brain injury was a reported cause of death. Not saying that Vax juice can't cause that, but highly inappropriate. And what makes it more insult to injury is Rob Schneider. He has, a reputation in Hollywood now amongst our people as being the a-hole, like a whole lot of black celebrities, don't like him, don't like Rob Schneider, because they be saying like, he says little slick racial-ish, and then he has used his platform to say some slick racial-ish about slave reparations. So, all jokes ain't jokes. So sometimes the joke just be the truth. Cause you ever have a friend or somebody that you hang around, cause like after a while when they keep saying stuff like that, it makes you question their friendship if they're always saying something negative. But when you say something super hurtful and then turn around and say, oh, I was just playing. And that's kind of what he did with that, that slavery reparations joke. It was just a joke. Ain't that funny how, a whole lot of white, I ain't going to say all of them, but a whole lot of white comedians, they'll tell a joke, say some super duper racial-ish, and be like, oh, what? You're mad about that? It's just a joke. I'm a comedian. But when a black comedian tells a joke that offends certain groups, certain said groups come after the black comedian. And when certain said groups come after the black comedian is usually forced to apologize for their joke. They're forced to provide context. First, they're forced to provide full context for their joke. So what did you mean when you said this? Black comedians get scolded for their jokes. What did you mean when you said this? And then it comes an apology. Then you gotta, either go online yourself or have your assistants post an apology post from your Instagram, from your whatever account, to apologize for the joke that offended X, Y, and Z groups. And then while they're making all these apologies, then they can't get work anymore as a comedian for a couple months until all these little groups that got offended forget that they said that joke. And it usually is an 8 to 1 year stint where they're not working as a comedian because all these groups are offended by the joke. They can't get no movie roles. They can't get any commercial endorsements. Their work, if they have specials streaming, their specials are muted on all the platforms that is currently streaming. Their old work, their old body of work, stuff they said 10, 15, 20 years ago, muted. Because certain groups got offended, they organized and publicly scolding the comedian for a joke they might have did 10, 15, 20 years ago that a group found offensive. And the two major people that get offended every time one of our comedians tell a joke is the Elemental P community and the Tiny Hat community. Every time those two groups of people get offended, we get canceled. But this guy, he has made an anti-inflammatory remark against a dead man, a brother, whom we don't really know the causes of his death, to push his narrative about his personal life choice. He personally chooses not to get vaxxed. So it wasn't a PSA. A PSA would have been if he was alive. He waits till the man gets unalive and says what he says. So, that's very insensitive. Just like his comment was insensitive about slavery reparations. So, like I said, people, this guy be trying to harbor his true feelings, the way he feels about stuff through jokes. So, yes, this comment about Mutombo is racially motivated as well, because he probably don't really like black people, and he using a black person that's talking some crazy shit. Part my language, I try not to curse on my platform, but yeah, this dude, he's being foul. And so I kind of used to like Rob Schneider's few of his movies. I like the Deuce Bigalows. I like them movies, and Stan, but as the more and more stuff comes out about him, I'm looking at him like I'm kind of side-eyeing dude now. Extremely insensitive. I don't think he misspoke. I think he said what he wanted to say. So he can't play the ignorance card, because the guy's smart. He's not a dummy. So he knew exactly what he wanted to say. He definitely didn't need to use Mutombo to make the statement. So you wait till a brother dies, they promoted the jab, they try to spin it on the anti-vax when there's hundreds of white people, white comedians that are pro-vax that have passed away. You could have said something about one of them, but you want to say something about a brother that's pro-vax. Wait till he gets unalive to say something. So yeah, that was very calculated. It was very callous, very cowardly, and he definitely owes his family an apology. He definitely owes our community an apology, because a whole lot of us, myself included, I'm anti-vax, but I would have never been like, ha, that's what happens when you take that stuff. To prove a point. Never. Who does that? Yeah, that guy's definitely a scumbag to the 10th power. I mean, you can still support him if you want to, but for me, he's a rapper dapper. I'm not promoting, supporting nothing else he's doing or has done. He is a scumbag to the 10th power. He can apologize till the cows come home. You should have never said nothing like that. It's just like common sense, bro. It's just common sense. Why would you sit up there in this time of grief and say something like that? He was beloved in the NBA. He was beloved in our community. So while I don't agree with a whole lot of people in our communities, personal views on random whatever, I would never take delight in their demise. Because with that statement, you're taking delight in his demise. That's how that came across. That's how any person with a half a brain would perceive that statement. So like that's noble that you would say I would never let my friends take the vax. I'm never going to get vaxxed, and anybody I know I'm never going to let them get vaxxed. At the end of the day, if they want to, that's their choice. Yeah, I would tell I've told all my loved ones not to get vaxxed. Don't get it. I got a whole, bunch that have. I had a relative get vaxxed. They put it on their FB. This was the time when they was giving like $1,000 to get vaxxed. This relative put the donor, the badge, I'm vaxxed, on their social media platform, and I was like, but that at the end of the day, that's their choice. But if they get sick and pass away, I'm not going to be like, yeah, see, I told you, don't get it. So yeah, that was really super duper insensitive. Dude is a scumbag, man. He is just a scumbag to the 10th power. Like, he can apologize like 8 million times. It's not going to take away the sting of the context, the way he said it. That's not even a moment you can't be like, well, I said what I said, I'm standing on business. Like, you can't even say that in that scenario. Like, he's just a straight up scumbag. Well, that's it and that's all. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode of the Narrative Podcast. Make sure you join me this weekend for another full edition of the Narrative Podcast. I will probably be either tomorrow or Friday with another weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast. I try to do 3, but this week kind of went by super quick. Not even gonna lie, so many deaths in our community, in the entertainment industry, like POTUS news, what's going on with the elections and all that. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed, and sometimes I need to take a break. So this week I took a little break, a little step back, but it's a never-ending battle with this content that I'm delivering. So I got to take my little breaks here and there, but for the most part, I try to do at least 3 broadcasts per week and 1 broadcast on the weekend, and try to stay consistent with that. But every once in a while, you got to take a break. I took a break this week. So like I said, join me this week for another episode of the Narrative Podcast. I don't think I'll be doing the 3rd one this week. But a full episode this weekend for sure, most definitely, of the Narrative Podcast. Remember to download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast wherever you get your podcast source from. That's it and that's all. So keep on tuning in and participating in the content. With us working together, we will change this false narrative about our people together. If we all do our part and utilize our platforms, to spread positivity instead of negativity, and just portray our images and our likenesses the way that they're supposed to be portrayed, as a people working together, uniting together, we're going to change the narrative. So we just got to keep at it. I'm changing the narrative on my end, 1 episode at a time. And I'm asking you to help me change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative on my end, one episode at a time. As a narrator, you can help me change the narrative on your end, one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen, the Narrator Podcast, signing off, and it's like that.
You are now listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.